Now the other thing I'm thinking about is not just having one arm on this suspension here. Now lots of people are probably thinking that straight away, and they're going to think, well, that's going to be swinging all over the place if you've only got one arm there and it's flexing on the bottom. That thing's going to go all over the place. So the intention at the moment is I'm going to work this part out first, work out the angle that this thing's going to be set at. Then once I've done that, I'm going to try and attach a second pair of swiveling arms, a point higher up the front of the gun to another point on this pipe axle. That way it'll act more like a pair of suspension. What would be the forks? Is it? You know, like on, if you look at a quad bike or sports cars, they have double, what do you call them, wishbones? Whatever. They have two like A-shaped suspension arms which go down to the hubs, and they have springs between them and so on. So I could basically set it up so that it acts like that. Yeah, but only have a few inches between them. This will just stop it swinging around like that, backwards and forwards. Yeah. As I said previously, a simple option would have been if I'd had the ability to have two of these arms with the right type of stub axle on here and mount the bearing straight on. The problem is, the gun I'm making is unusual for trailer components. It's only got a weight of 250 kilos, and you can't get these suspension arms designed with only a 250 kilo loading in the joint and the ability to put 16-inch wheels on the stub axles. So these stub axles would have to be taken off, and I'd have to get other ones machined and attached. Then the problem is, are these man enough for the job for supporting those big hubs and the Land Rover wheels? So that's the reason I'm going down this line, just to give you a recap. But it's an experimental idea. I have no idea how it's going to perform. Obviously, if I'd used a trailer system has springs which run across that way, has conventional leaf springs, and conventional leaf springs will allow for a twisting motion as one side of the scaffold or one side of the axle rises and the other side doesn't, if you follow. Let's see if I move this camera back here and we look along the length of the pipe. As I say, on a conventional pipe axle, one side can raise and the other side can stay down. Now if we look down here, I suspect I can get the same result with this stuff. You can see here, this side is moving and the other side staying pretty much where it is. Now one of the reasons that is at the moment is because I've got some slack in these joints down here, but that's not always going to be like that. The reason there's some slack in this joint at the moment, see, like that, is because I've designed it that way. If I take this nut off here, right, spin that off, take that washer off, you'll see there's a gap in there. Say that's 1 inch, say 25 millimeters. Well, the inside diameter of that pipe is around 27. Now, the idea is that I'm going to roll up some copper or brass into a tube. It might have a slot down one side, but that doesn't matter to me. I'm just going to roll up some very thin brass plate, and I'm going to use this as a bushing between the two steel surfaces in there, so that it will swivel. I'm not putting any fancy bearings in there because it's only going to have a motion, something like that, when it's in use. And yeah, so it's just going to act as a bushing. And the right materials to use are brass or copper. At a push I could use aluminium, but brass is self-lubricating and so on. I suspect that's going to be the way to go. It's easy to find some thin brass plating. I've probably got some already in the shed. So that's the idea behind that. Now, first thing I'm going to do though is I'm going to finish off the welding around here to make that nice and solid, because I do think that what I've done here is correct, and I've just got to work out the next parts to do. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, I've cut the plates out to mount onto the suspension units, and as I said, I've profiled the ends so that I can weld around them there and around on the other side. I may also weld them on the inside there, but I think I'll probably give that a miss just in case I have to remove them, because it'd be easier to grind the weld off on the outer edge. Yeah, so that's the two of them made up. I've marked off with a pen exactly where they should sit. All the holes are drilled in the units so that I can couple them up with 8mm bolts. So that's the next stage to do. Weld these up at the ends. Cat seems to like it. Right, so once I've welded the plates on the two ends, then that brings me to here. So I'm now reaching the point where I need to be trying to work out the second linkage point, the best way to do it. Now, I tend to think that I'm going to need to try and keep a bit of clearance between this coupling flange here, or whatever you want to call it, for the suspension joint onto the load bearing member. So I need to keep that sort of geometry there. So if I've got that arm underneath this scaffold pipe here, and then mounted also onto that scaffold pipe there, I suppose the answer is either to, well, it's to try and keep it along on the same geometry. If that's underneath there, then I'd need another arm up above it here to keep the same sort of shape to it, so it doesn't thump into this piece here. With not being able to flex this this joint easily here, it's not so easy to work out. I suppose the answer is to maybe cut these pieces out in a piece of cardboard and stick them into a bit of wood with some drawing pins at the pivot points, and see how it all flexes, you know, see how it looks. You see, one of the points which I want to try and make look reasonable are the remember me mentioning they have these they look like small wheel arches over the wheel. I'll show you the picture now. Yeah, well, if you look at them, ideally I don't want those to be swinging backwards and forwards as the wheels move up and down. If they start swinging backwards and forwards, it's going to look a little bit odd. So I want to try and keep them fairly much in one position as the suspension rises. If they move back and forwards an inch or so, that'll probably be okay. But if they start whipping really stupidly, like 5 or 6 inches, that's going to look stupid. And so I want these things to rise and fall with the suspension. Now, if you look at that picture once again, you'll notice that those like wheel arch things are on a collar which swivels around this pipe, so and locks. It has like a spring catch. Which locks into the thing to hold it upright. Then once you actually get out and you're using the thing in battle, you release that catch and it swings round and goes underneath the wheel and probably lifts the wheel off the ground when you push the whole gun forwards. It probably elevates the gun off the floor, takes the wheels off the floor, and then presumably there's another locking point to hold it there. So yeah, so I've got a little bit of thinking to do here. So this might be the end of video number 5, and I'll post this up and let people have a think what the answer is.